Hey everyone, welcome to another video. As always, my name is Jay, and in this video I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I'm getting a lot of questions about is what are my thoughts on the beta bolter rule, as they call it, or the new beta bolter rule, or the better beta bolter rule. Alliterations galore. Let's talk about it in this week's video. Now, the important part of these videos, of my thoughts, are to create a discussion. So please leave your comments in the comment section down below of what you think about these rules, and let's create a discussion. Now, obviously, this is just my opinion. I've played a lot of games of 40K, but it's my opinion, right? And it's no better or worse than yours, but people are curious about what my thoughts are, and I think I can make some valid points. You guys can make some valid points, and we can have a really good discussion. So leave comments in the comment section down below. So, a couple weeks ago, GW put out a beta rule. Now, I really do actually think this is really cool that GW's doing this and putting out beta rules so that we can discuss them ahead of time, kind of play test them, see how they do. Some people can put them in their tournaments, and it's a beta rule. That's it. It's not official, but they wonder what we think. And this one's called the bolter. This is called the beta rule bolter discipline. So let's go over it first. What does it cover? First of all, it says all Adeptus Astartes and Heretic Astartes models gain this ability. Instead of following the normal rules for rapid fire weapons, so you can fire double the shots from half range, right? Pretty standard there. Rapid fire bolt weapons, so it has to have the word bolt, of course. Used by models with this ability make double the number of attacks if any apply. And it's any, right? And now I'm going to go over the rules, but a lot of people I think misread this particular rule. So if any of the following apply. The firing model's target is within half the weapon's maximum range, so the standard rule. So if it's a rapid fire 24 and they're within 12 inches of the target model, double shots. The firing model remains stationary during its previous movement phase. This is the old rapid fire from the past. Cool. Or the firing model is a Terminator, Biker, Centurion, or Vehicle. Okay. For the purposes of this ability, a rapid fire bolt weapon is any weapon with a rapid fire type whose profile includes the word bolt. Example, bolt gun, bolt rifle, storm bolter, combi bolter, hurricane bolter, inferno bolt gun, etc. This also applies when firing the bolt gun profile of a combi weapon, including the bolt weapon profile of relics such as Blood Song and the Lion's Wrath, and when firing relics that replace a rapid fire bolt weapon, so long as the relic is also a rapid fire weapon, example Primarch's Wrath, Fury of Deimos, etc. The Gauntlets of Ultramar and the Talon of Horus are also rapid fire bolt weapons, as is the Guardian Spear used by the Deathwatch Masters. Cool. So that's the rule. Now, a lot of people were misinterpreting this in my opinion. I believe the rules as intended. I think it's as written as well. I think it's kind of clear as day. If any of the following apply, they get double of the shots, right? They don't get to multiply it. Some people were arguing then, like if it's a rapid fire 4 weapon, like a Storm Bolter, and they're within half fire, they get 8 shots. No. Right? Sorry, rapid fire 2. Sorry, if they were in rapid fire, so if they were in half range, they get 4. If they didn't move, they'd get 8. And if they were a vehicle, they'd get 16 shots, because you keep multiplying it by 2 if every one of these apply, right? For every one of them that applies, you double the shots. That's not correct in my interpretation. I think it's pretty clear. You just get double the shots if any of those apply, right? Not for every one of those you can double the shots. That would be a very implicit, crazy rule. It's just they've added a few more rules to help bolters, shoot extra shots, right? So if you're within half range from your target, so it's a rapid fire 24 weapon, a rapid fire, like for example, a Storm Bolter is rapid fire 2, 24 inch range. If you're within 12 inches, you get 4 shots. Or if you didn't move, you get 4 shots. Or if you're a Terminator, Biker, or Vehicle, or Centurion, you get 4 shots regardless. So what are my thoughts about this? Now, a lot of people have been giving hate on this. No, I'm okay actually with this rule. The only faction where I think it actually could be broken is probably Deathwatch. Deathwatch have some nasty bolters, as you guys know. Deathwatch have bolters that have tons of special rules. They can wound on 2-ups. So tons of pumping out these firepower, will actually mean something. Personally, I'm okay with it. I'm not a primarily Space Marine player. I play Orcs, Tyranids, as you guys know by my battle reports. I do play some Space Marines. I have Grey Knights, I have Vanilla Marines, I have Dark Angels. I haven't even tried Dark Angels in 8th edition yet. I don't like their special rule, frankly. But, yeah, and I'm okay with it, to be honest. I don't think bolters are overpowered. Bolters are an anti-infantry or anti-horde weapon. And as I said, the only counterexample to what I'm saying is Deathwatch. Deathwatch, it is going to be pretty powerful. Deathwatch can take down a lot of big monstrous creatures really easily just by rapid firing weapons because they wound on a 2-up and you'll eventually fail a save. You know, that's okay. But that's the example. Pretty much all other bolters are used to take down infantry like orcs and Tyranids and Astromilitarum. And I'm okay with that, frankly, because I don't think Space Marines are the bee's knees anymore. They've always been the good, sometimes great army. Never, you know, again, during some moments, top tier. Space Marines are not a top tier army at the moment in the competitive meta. They're really not. Like, if you look at the competitive tournament circuit, what you'll see is Imperial soup lists, you know, night lists that have the really, really shooty new knights, and a bunch of Astromilitarum to give them tons of CP that you can use them for and abuse that. Dark Eldar, Eldar/Dark Eldar armies, Astromilitarum. You've seen a couple Orc lists come into the play lately since the new Codex. You don't really see a lot of Space Marine lists, to be honest. You really don't in the competitive meta. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen a couple Deathwatch in some tournaments, but really, Space Marines are like the standard classic army, and I do agree they get a lot of love because so many people play them. There's so many variations of it. There's so many things you can do with a Space Marine army. They're a really good starter army, and they get a lot of people into the game, and that's why they get love. But as I said, they're not a competitive, they're not the top tier competitive meta list. And most of the armies that can destroy a Space Marine army will still be able to destroy a Space Marine army, but now they'll lose a few more models. You know, if you're trying to get into a firefight against bolters, you're probably going to win. You know, when I bring a competitive orc list, for example, my really heavy, strong orc list, I don't really care about bolters, to be honest. Unless it's Deathwatch bolters, because a lot of my things are toughness 7, toughness 8, even toughness 5, really. So, Space Marines firing bolters, you're hitting on 3s. Of course, rerolling 1s, you can get rerolling 1s or rerolling the hits depending on the people you're running with them. And I do agree, I'm completely agreeing that Space Marines do get a lot of love. They have arguably the best character in the game, Gilliman, and they have a lot of rules that make them good. But as I said, they're not the best. There's always armies that can break Space Marines. So let's say they're Space Marine firing a bolter weapon with no rerolls. 3s to hit. Against an Orc Boy, it's 4s to wound. Against anything tougher, 5s or 6s to wound. Really, you're looking at, for every 3 guys firing these weapons, or every 3, if they each get 2 shots extra because of these rules, you're looking at an extra 2 wounds for every 3 guys who fire against a toughness 4 model. Because for every, 6 shots extra, 4 would hit on average and 2 would wound on average, right? 3s to hit, 4s to wound. I'm okay with it. You know what? Horde, even with this, I am still confident that Eldar, Dark Eldar, Astromilitarum, they can take so many more models versus a Space Marine army in today's game. And the meta is really about board control, about surviving, about bringing tons of cheaper infantry because D is disgusting in this edition. D is disgusting, right? A Luda will kill a Space Marine, right? They will. Even if it's a 2-wound Space Marine. Really, because Ludas do, AP -1 D2, right? Doesn't really matter if it's a 2-wound Space Marine. It's still going to die on if it fails a 4-up, And the range is still only 24 inches for most bolt weapons. Heavy bolters, 36. But they're not rapid fire. I don't think. They're heavy. So, as I said, I'm okay with it. I am. I think a lot of people were freaking out at the beginning as they were misinterpreting the rule. Like double times double times double. So a Space Marine Terminator who remains stationary, firing from 12 inches, would fire, 4 shots for the Stormbolter. Sorry, Grey Knight's Terminator, right? Because 2 times 2 for being in half range, times 2 for not moving, times 2 for being a Terminator. No. 4 shots. Right? And really, Terminators, Bikers, Centurions, and Vehicles. Terminators are really not seen that much these days unless you're seeing Grey Knights. And even then, they're eaten through because of D is just eating through Terminators. right? Bikers I can see. You know, there are some bikers in there. Definitely some bikers. I've seen some scout bikers in some competitive lists. I've seen some, you know, Ravenwing in some competitive lists. Okay, bikers I can see. That's cool. Centurions, really, I don't see Centurions very often since they really nerfed grav weapons. Now, obviously, it can still help. And vehicles, yes, vehicles have bolters. Some vehicles have bolters. Wow, you know, it's always firing an extra 2 shots. As I said, I'm not that worried. I'm not that concerned that this is a game-breaking rule. What do you think? That's what I really want to just create this discussion for. You know, as I said, people are really worried that Space Marines are going the way of the new Space Marines, which I agree. You know, to me, it is really about the new Space Marines are the better ones. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't feel that this is breaking it, to be honest. I don't know. As I said, I'm not that concerned about this. It'll hurt. I agree. Like, it's gonna hurt. A lot of firepower, but then again, as I said, if you're running orcs, you're gonna be spamming orc boys. You know, you'll lose an extra couple for every 3 firing if you're within half range or if they didn't move. Now, again, in most of the cases, they'd probably be moving. In a lot of cases, they would be, you know, moving. Because, and if a space moves, then you have to be within half range because they're not, you know, a Terminator. I don't know. Oh, by the way, when I say new Space Marines, I mean Primaris Marines. That's what I'm, sorry, just the word slipped my mind for a second. Primaris Marines is what I'm talking about. Really, the new focus is Primaris Marines. And yeah, they're great. They have 2 wounds each, but they die. They die fast. If you have an army full of D weapons, or anything with D damage, they die. They die very quickly. Ludas will eat through Primaris Marines. You know, I went to a tournament a couple months ago, and my friend Dave and I both ended up undefeated. We were the 2 people in the tournament who ended up undefeated just due to the number of rounds. And Dave's a great general, and Dave brought a really cool list. Dave was undefeated, but he brought Primaris Marines. It was a Primaris Marine spam list. And if I faced him, the odds are I would have leaf blown him off the table because my list was very strong against Primaris Marines. I wouldn't care, honestly, if the list I brought that he had double the firepower bolters. He wouldn't be doing much. A lot of my stuff was toughness 7 and 8. So, alright, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. But I'd be able to knock his guys way off the board, way quicker. And frankly, he'd be moving with his Space Marines because he'd need to move them quickly. Therefore, they'd have to be in rapid fire. And that's the thing, they'd have to be rapid fire, they'd be in half range, right? It only helps if you're sitting on an objective, then you can stay there and just fire from 24-inch range, you know, pump out as much as you can. But the not moving helps. You know, Dark Angels, it'll be cool because when you don't move, then you get to reroll 1s and you get to double the extra shots if they're Primaris, you know, Dark Angels. I'm okay with it. As I said, I'm not too worried. Maybe I'm wrong. Deathwatch are a very good counterexample to my argument, and I do agree, and I will concede that. Deathwatch are scary with bolters because they have bolt weapons that can rapid fire and have tons of special rules. So they actually could pump out a lot of scariness. And yes, there will be abuse in that, and people will create lists that will dominate tables with bolter fire. So you got to design a list that would kill Deathwatch, you know? And as I said, really, Space Marines are not the top of the meta. The LVO just happened last week, and the finals did not have that many Space Marines, right? Eldar, Dark Eldar, Astra Militarum, AdMech, / Imperial Knights, right? It's the Castellan lists. So it's the Knight Castellan, surrounded by a lot of guys who give them CP, and they blow everyone off the table. I don't see Space Marines taking back the meta due to this change in the beta rule, to be honest. I don't. Now, it's really cool. Like, again, it'll help Grey Knights, because Grey Knights need love. Even with the points decreases for Grey Knights, they're still not a competitive army. The reason being, once again, it goes down to table control and survivability. Now, if you're playing a mission that you just can gain points and survive to win, that's phenomenal. But They don't have a lot of table control because they're slow. You can't, they don't have anybody who has fly, and one squad can teleport across the table to turn, but they don't have survivability. If your opponent has something to answer against armor, they're toast. And they need it, right? They really need this, and you know what'll help them? Because if you're running a bunch of Terminators, awesome. But Terminators are not in the competitive meta. Some bikes are, Centurions not really. Vehicles, depending on the vehicle, yeah. But that's it. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? That's the important. Let's create a discussion on the new Beta Bolter rule. What are your thoughts? That's my question. Are you happy with the new Beta Bolter rule? Are you concerned about it? Do you think it's going to break the game? What do you think? Does it mean anything? And that's my interpretation of the rule. I think my interpretation is correct. The rules is written. They're not a Terminator, so a Grey Knight Terminator who remains stationary, firing from 12 inches away, should not be able to fire, 16 shots. That is not correct. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. No, not happening. I think it's 4 shots. That's my interpretation. So, what do you guys think? Leave comments in the comment section below. Let's create a discussion about the new Beta Bolter rule. I wonder if it's going to actually be a real rule. We'll see in the near future. Stay tuned for more videos about my thoughts. As always, this video is brought to you by my Patreon campaign. Link in the description below if you want to help support my videos. And it's because of them that I can make this content all the time. Stay tuned for more videos. Until next time, it's Jay saying, happy painting.